Network.
You wanted the best. You got the best.
Spins Vinyl, the vinyl leader.
Yo, what is shaking, everybody? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It's a Blue Note Friday. Well, actually, today it's a Prestige Friday because we're going to get into some Prestige and New Age today. I thought that'd be kind of fun. I pulled out some records. I've got this great book that I just keep wanting to impress on people because I love it, man. I'm always going to it and reading excerpts out of it and stuff. What's up, Shane Vinyl Records? Welcome. And so I thought, this might be a good opportunity to kind of talk about some of the stories in here. Some of the best stories in this book are by the founder of Prestige New Jazz. So I thought, let's jump into that a little bit because that'll be fun. And then I'll show you some of the resources I use just for kind of identifying records for the label. And, just talk a little bit give a little background on the labels. And then, and again, I'll just go in and kind of show some of my favorite Prestige New Jazz records. Of course, Eric Dolphy recorded for New Jazz and Prestige. So we'll get to look at some of that too. Hope everyone's doing good on a Friday. What else? Oh, we're taking you all the way up to the Jazz Bumps today. So if you're worried about you trying to time it right, you don't have to worry. We're going to get you right over there through the magic of YouTube. We'll get you right over to the Jazz Bums stream today, which is about an hour away. So we got about 1 hour today. Actually, I did not mention, I have an unboxing. One of the things I like doing with the stream, because I'm going live every single day, is to try to incorporate some things that you might normally see on a pre-recorded video. I don't know. I just think it's fun. You never know how active people are going to be. So it's, I like to have plenty of stuff to kind of do while these streams are going on. And one thing that's kind of fun is to do an unboxing. So here we go. I ordered this yesterday. It came from Amazon. It arrived today, and so far looks like great condition. The box is in great condition. It is not a Prestige New Jazz record. I kind of wish it was. That would tie everything together nicely, but that's all right. I think we got a good record in here. So we'll open this bad boy up. See what we got. Oh yeah, actually we got a Blue Note, a Tone Poet. So I just picked this one up. It's on sale on Amazon, man. Such a great price. I don't remember. I think I paid $30 or less for this. And so just kind of like there was sort of a double discount going on. So if you want to, you're still trying to close out your Bobby Hutcherson collection, it's got Harold Land, who's phenomenal, Stanley Cowell, Reggie Johnson, and Joe Chambers on it. Medina. Yeah, I'm stoked to listen to this. Nice little Blue Note right there. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it'd be cool to kind of unbox this. Hutcherson's my guy, as you well know. He's back on the wall right there. and this one's cool. I'm trying to kind of I need to get all my 60s Hutcherson just dialed in. Like I think there's like 12 or something like that issues that have come out, including some of the issues that were recently discovered. There was one actually. And I think I have 8 of them now. So I'm closing in on all the 60s stuff. Shout out AA. What's up, AA? Good to see you, baby. So yeah, that's cool. If you don't have this and I like to show this stuff when I get a deal, is kind of pass it on to you guys. Is that, like I said, this was very cheap. I think $30 at most. And so if you have Prime and free shipping and everything, it's a great little Bobby Hutcherson Blue Note right there. So cool. Stoked for that. Looking forward to spinning that. So I don't know. I thought we'd go maybe a little background into the Prestige Jazz label, because I think obviously we talk a lot about Blue Note. A lot of people talk about Blue Note, or sometimes we get into the more sort of scarce labels and stuff like that. Shout out Carlos Rubio. What's up, baby? I don't hear a lot of talk about the great Prestige New Jazz label, and maybe I just miss it, but I love the label. I got a bunch of the records. Some greats were on the label. Everybody from Thelonious Monk to Miles Davis to Coltrane to Sonny Rollins to, Eric Dolphy, just tons of great records that aren't going to get, obviously, are not going to get issued by Tone Poet or Classic Series, right? So The OJC Original Jazz Classic series is doing a good job of reissuing some of this stuff, but it's slow and there's just a few coming out here and there. So I wanted to kind of talk about some of this. I have a variety of pressings in here, so maybe some hot tips too for putting together a nice little prestige new jazz collection if you haven't already. All right, so prestige new jazz put together. The founder is Bob Weinstock, and I want to get into some of his. He is hilarious, by the way. There's this great book that I want to show after this little preview introduction that I highly recommend, and it's got some cool Bob Weinstock stuff in here, and I'm actually going to read a little bit of it. So, but yeah, so 1949, New Jazz Prestige comes out really as kind of the New Jazz label, but then quickly becomes the Prestige label. And it runs that way for almost 10 years until 1958 when they put out the New Jazz label. And the New Jazz label is really more, I guess, challenging music would go on there. Eric Dolphy would end up on there, and some other things. So at least that it was that way in the beginning. And then from what I've read, at some point, it was just kind of like, they didn't even, it was just, it's going to end up on one of those two labels, Prestige or New Jazz. And they didn't pay a whole lot of attention to what went on there. But at first, supposedly, it was the more challenging stuff that ended up on New Jazz. So by the way, some people maybe don't know Prestige New Jazz is effectively the same label. It was the same founder. They both came out of the same, label and all of that. So it was just kind of split to kind of, as I said initially, to kind of just distinguish between the two kinds of jazz that they would put out. So they started out doing 10-inch, a lot of 10-inch stuff. So, if you see this stuff, you can find some of the early Miles and the early Monk and that kind of stuff was issued on 10-inch. And then those, when they first started doing the LPs, which I'm going to get into, because the first jazz LP, or the first LP that they did, the first long playing record that wasn't a 10-inch, was a Miles Davis record, which I'm going to show. So that's really cool. But they started out doing 10-inch. A lot of those early records they call them compilations. You might see like, why is this a compilation? Because it was probably compiled from multiple 10-inch records. So with, for example, Thelonious Monk is a great example where they would issue maybe 3 tracks on a 10-inch. And then when they started doing LPs, they would start splitting that stuff into like a combination of records. Sometimes they wouldn't even end up on the same LP. It would be split between multiple LPs. And I'll show an example of that too. Oh, another thing too. Here, I'm going to just totally derail everything, but let me show you this. And then we'll jump into just kind of I just want to go through some of a great resource for looking up jazz in general. Jazz in general. I don't think I've covered this before. Let me take you over to. All right, so here, this is being reissued again. So this is one I've talked about before. I was waiting forever for this record to come out. This is Lovin' Us All, Pharoah Sanders. They recently reissued it. I think it was an Italian label or something like that. Somebody tipped me off to it, and then I waited a couple months. I ended up snagging one for like $50, and it sounds great. But now the Sound of Vinyl is putting it out, and so pre-orders now. So ships on April 18th. So about 5-6 weeks, something like that. And so this is a big Pharoah Sanders record. If you're someone that's been looking for this record, trying to compile a collection of Pharoah, or if you just want to sample one great Pharoah Sanders record, I highly recommend this one. It's going to be his typical side A, side B is going to be entirely different. So side A is going to be what I enjoy, which is that beautiful kind of spiritual, full one track on a full side, just kind of a vamp vibing out for 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes or whatever. And then you're going to flip it over and you're going to get massive free avant-garde, just the other Pharoah Sanders. So I just want to point this out because if I'd been a little more patient, then I could be picking one up for $30, but I picked mine up for 50 instead. But anyway, so cool. Loving Us All, Bird by Request, getting some love. I've heard some hardcore jazzers talk about the new jazz series not having anything they didn't like. Yeah. And then a 78 RPM. Mark Bird, I think they did start out with some of that shellac stuff originally, and then quickly went into like the 10-inch realm. I wish the mix of love is everywhere on Loving Us All. Yeah. Get my brain straight again. Yeah. No, so AA, mentioning that a lot of people talk about this series and give it a lot of love. It's a great series. I mean, there's huge names on here. Some of their Sonny Rollins Saxophone Colossus is a prestige, right? So a lot of great stuff, and I'm going to show some of it, and we'll kind of go down this list. And as we go down, I'll show some of the ones that I have, and then maybe I'll wait till the end. So I'm going to show the book actually, because I've already teased it, and I highly recommend this for jazz lovers. And I'm going to read some excerpts out of this. I love it so much. So this is called Pressed for All Time, producing the great jazz albums from Louis Armstrong, Billie Holiday, Miles Davis, Diana Krall, from Michael Jarrett. I can't recommend this book enough. It doesn't look like much maybe, but it is super fun. What it is, it's jam-packed with information from producers, people that were in the room, engineers, about the artists, about the sessions, about the labels, and some of the best stuff in here is by new jazz prestige founder Bob Weinstock. I want to say Weinstein. Yeah, Bob Weinstock has a bunch of articles in here, and it's kind of what really got me wanting to read this thing from cover to cover. They cover everything in here, man, going back to early days, then the prestige. They talk about the first prestige records they did. It goes, Out to Lunch is in here. All your favorite Miles is going to be in here. All your Sonny Rollins and just everybody's in here. Sonny Stitt, John Coltrane. It goes on and on. Dave Brubeck, Freddie Hubbard. It goes all the way through, 50s, 60s, 70s. Thelonious Monk is all over the place. So you'll get an idea. I'm going to read some excerpts out of it. That'll give you kind of an idea of what this book is about. All right, let's look at some prestige here. So this is a great website. This is Burke Jazz burkejazz.se, I guess, and it's an archive of all these labels. It's got Blue Note, 1500, 4000 series, Prestige, Riverside, Pacific Jazz, Contemporary, Savoy, Dial. It's everything. Atlantic, Debut, all the way down. You can see on these links here on the side. I just happen to be on the Prestige page, and you'll see kind of what this website offers. It doesn't show every record, but it covers a lot of them. And you get the artwork and tells you a little bit about it. Not a lot of details about each of the pressings or anything, or each of the, the records or the tunes or anything like that. You'll kind of have to go off somewhere else for that. I wish these were clickable or something, but they're not. But just as a catalog, it's awesome. So you get to see, here's like some early Miles Davis, 1952 on 10-inch LP. Sonny Rollins, those early Thelonious Monks from 52. Just really cool stuff. I don't have any of this really early stuff. So I'll just kind of scroll through this. 1954. So going down to the first LP they put out, which is a Miles Davis record. So you see passing by a lot of Miles here. Milt Jackson, the Connets. Oh, did I pass it already? 7-inch EP, 7-inch EP, 10-inch, 10-inch. Okay. Maybe, let me see. Yeah, okay. Maybe it's one of the first. I think it's the first one with Miles on it. So here's Lee Konitz. Then we got Concord, the Modern Jazz Quartet. We got, well, when I read the story out of the book, he says it was the first one. I guess not, but you can see the catalog numbers here. So it starts at 7,000 series. We're on number 6, number 8. All right, here's the one I want to talk about. So this is number 12. So Prestige LP number 12, Miles Davis Dig, and got a copy right here. So you see this has Sonny Rollins, Miles Davis on it, but it also has I'm spacing out now because I tripped myself up. It's got Jackie McLean. Jackie McLean is on here too. And there's a great story in this book that I'm going to read. It's short. It's a little article. But yeah, this is a great one, and it's early prestige. So this is came out on OJC. So as I said, OJC has started reissuing these in recent years, but OJC, Original Jazz Classics, actually got started in the 80s, early to mid 80s, reissuing these, and they reissued much of the catalog, and these are still fairly affordable. So, yeah, you're not going to find these. You're not going to be able to pick these up new if you're someone that likes to grab these reissues that are coming out. They're coming out very slowly by OJC, but they're pretty easy to pick up used. So if you check out, Discogs or wherever you like to buy records, you can pick these up pretty easy. So that's a cool one. Again, Jackie McLean's on here. I don't want to give too much away because it's Bob Weinstock tells it way better than I do. So I'm going to read that out of that book. But yeah, so that's one. The other one, which I kind of passed by, which is an early one. This is 7006. So, I guess LP6 is Mulligan Plays Mulligan, another early prestige right there. And this is a great one. Again, they get into it in this book and just talk a lot about Mulligan and how great he was, and how when they started putting out these LPs, they really wanted people to be able to play long. On the 10-inch records, you just didn't have a lot of space. And the whole point of like coming out with these on LP was like, oh, now we can really stretch out. So Dig, a great Miles, the first Miles LP, and of course of many, Miles Davis Quartet on Prestige. Another great one, Sonny Rollins, Work Time, got that here. So they show it pink, and I guess this is an alternate cover, a color or something like that. But I love Sonny, and again, these all got OJCs, and this is a great one with Max Roach on drums here, Work Time. So that's a great little Sonny Rollins. If you like some Sonny, they did a lot of Sonny. So here, I got a few to show others. So they did Tenor Madness, came out on Prestige. Great record. They did this one right here, Modern Jazz Quartet with Art Blakey, Kenny Drew. Saxophone Colossus. I mean, that's the big one. Tommy Flanagan, Max Roach, Doug Watkins was a Prestige. Tour de Force. You can see the original Jazz Classics OBs that they came with originally in the 80s. It's another great one. Straight from a 10-inch. In fact, this has the same exact content as the 10-inch does. So those are cool. So lots of great Sonny on the Prestige label. J.J. Johnson, more Miles. So this Monk right here. So this Monk's cool because it has multiple covers. They changed the title, in fact, but it's the same exact track listing. So this is self-titled Thelonious Monk Prestige 7027. And then they released it as Monk's Moods right here. And again, this is the same titles and everything. Honestly, I got this one because I like the cover better. But they just reissued it as Prestige 7159. So, and this is a great one, man. It's got some good stuff on it. Just a Gigolo, Blue Monk, Bemshaw Swing, Reflections. We got a little bit different Prestige label there. So yeah, this is like a 60-something pressing, and it's really great condition. I was actually shocked when I looked it up. It's an early pressing. So there's that Modern Jazz Quartet I showed. This is one that Chris over at WCB Watkin Brown recommends highly, the George Wallington Jazz for the Carriage Trade. I don't know that much about it. I've sampled it, but I don't have a copy, but just a heads up on that. So Miles, of course, Miles got a lot of love on Prestige. I'll show a few here. This is the first, this is with Melt Jackson, Quintet and Sextet. Again, it got some OJC love, and a lot of these can be found on OJC. So if you're looking to kind of fill in your Prestige and new jazz collection, it's not that difficult. He did this whole series of records like Cookin' and Workin' that Miles did are on Prestige. He did those for Prestige. So this is a more contemporary OJC. This came out, I guess, a couple years ago when they first started reissuing them. I think that was one of the first ones they did. This is one of my favorite Miles Davis records. It's considered a compilation. Again, this came out of a bunch of 10-inch. But I mean, you got Monk on here, Milt Jackson, Percy Heath, Coltrane's on here, Red Garland, Paul Chambers, and Philly Joe Jones. So it's a kind of a split sessions. So you get a nice variety of music on here. I just love the stuff on that record. And of course, Milt Jackson on this one too. Bags Groove with Sonny, Monk, Horace Silver. I mean, look at these lineups. That's just a classic Prestige record right there. Bags Groove. Both album covers are pretty cool. I gotta admit that, Mark. I was kind of like, well, if I'm only gonna get one, I want to. I'm like, I like this one because there's not a lot that show Monk kind of right at the piano. So, well, I mean, there are some later ones, but I thought that's pretty cool. So McLean, Jackie McLean, of course, he's one of my guys. He plays with 3 of his records feature Bobby Hutcherson, and so I love to collect. And Mal Waldron on piano. I like to collect certain Jackie McLean records. Analog Productions reissued this a few years ago, and it's Lights Out. And man, I always try to hype these Analog Production Prestige up because they do a whole series of Prestige, and man, they are beautiful. The jackets seem very much like the originals. They're glossy. The records are, I mean, I think they talk about having they hype up the quality control on these in the marketing, and from what I've heard, they come through. And I know that's something that a lot of people, have issues with, is having to send these things back and stuff. I have yet to have to do that. But yeah, this beautiful Jackie McLean with Donald Byrd right there got the Analog Productions treatment. So I recommend that one. It's great. The packaging and everything is just flawless. What else we got here? So Tenor Madness, I showed that one. So another cool Jackie McLean, 4, 5, and 6. This one's got Mal Waldron, Don Byrd, and Hank Mobley on it. Man, what a record. It's really good. And these are some early Jackie McLean. So we're talking about mid 50s right now. And he is one that developed his sound over time. In fact, in one of the articles I'm going to read out of here, Bob Weinstock talks about Jackie as being someone that started out good, not great. And if you can say that about a lot of artists, right? Most artists are going to develop over time, hopefully. But I just think it was kind of, it's interesting to get kind of the inside scoop on some of that stuff, which is why I love this book so much. And by the way, they're not paying me to hype this up. I wish they would, because I love it and I would talk about it every day. Shout out A Perfect Prescription. Top version, Lights Out, not cheap in its original form. Yeah. And so these, I think, are like 40. So you can get these, consider it like a tone poet, basically. Same price point and everything, but man, these are cool. They're really cool. And you're going to get some, titles you're obviously not going to get from Blue Note. What else we got here? Some Gene Ammons. Modern Jazz Quartet put out a lot of stuff. More Sonny. Mobley's Message. Some Red Garland. So yeah, Red Garland is someone that wasn't on my radar up until probably a couple years ago. But here's a great one on Prestige called Groovy with Paul Chambers and Art Taylor right there. This is a great record. Yeah, if you're not familiar with Red Garland as a leader, he's going to appear probably in a lot of stuff you've already heard because he sits in on a lot of sessions as well, accompanying some great leaders. But he is also a great leader. He also has put out some great stuff as a leader. So I highly recommend Garland now. Even though he's someone that's new to me, but it was fun to discover him. Miles Davis All-Stars. Yeah, that's right. Did I show that one? I think I did. Nice little saxophone Colossus. This is Sonny's big record there. So got a nice Prestige, 1956. Gigi Grice, another one with Art Farmer here. More Jackie McLean. Kenny Burrell. Mal Waldron. He's a guy that I think people are getting hip to now. I know they've been reissuing some of his stuff, but here's Mal 1. Mal Waldron, I first discovered sitting in with Dolphy on the 5-spot sessions, which I'll show here soon. But if you're familiar with Eric Dolphy, you're familiar with the 5-spot. It's basically 2 I was basically 3 records, even though it's volume 1, volume 2, and then volume 3 is titled some other way. It's effectively volume 3, but not. But Mal Waldron is plays piano on those sessions, and that's how I first heard Mal Waldron. And again, great. I mean, this has got Idris Soliman on it and Gigi Grice on sax. So that's a great one. Mal 1. Just about anything Mal Waldron I try to pick up now. Such a great piano player. Unique piano player. There's Cookin'. I showed that one. This is a great one too. Paul Quinchette on the Sunny Side. There's some Coltrane. So yeah, Coltrane, like I said, he did early stuff for Prestige. Here's this one, Prestige 7105, a nice record right there. That might be the only one I have of his on Prestige. Bags Groove I showed. There's more Mal 2, another great record. I think this one's been reissued recently. Kenny Burrell. So yeah, some guitar love. Yusef Lateef. Love Yusef Lateef. So here's Red Garland with John Coltrane. I mentioned the great piano player. Relaxing. So the risk of boring you, I just thought I would go through this. I think there's a few. So yeah, there's a story on this record too, Soul Train, which I'll read. I mean by story, these are factual, articles by the people that were there. So there you go. So there's Monk's Moods. I showed that one. So that's the self-titled that got reissued. It's the same exact track listing on there. Working. I showed that. This was one of the first original jazz classics when they resurrected a couple years ago. This is the first one. One of the first ones they put out, and it's a great record. Oh yes, John Coltrane, Lush Life. Maybe you heard of that one. That's a great one. Steamin'. More Coltrane. Trying to see if there's anything else I got in my crate. It's Jackie Bard. He's underrated piano player. So he played with Charles Mingus and Eric Dolphy for a while. They played together. They recorded some live shows, and the live footage is on YouTube. You can check it out. He's an amazing piano player. He's a virtuoso. He plays in every style. I swear, in one of these songs, he plays all kinds of style. Classical and stride, and just he's amazing. And he sort of wrapped up his career as a piano instructor, and taught other people how to be great on piano. But yeah, Jackie Bard, I would not sleep on Jackie Bard. He's great. Zoot Sims, that's a cool cover. Phil Woods. But yeah, so much great stuff. More Jackie McLean. Oh, this is a great one, right? The Cats, Tommy Flanagan, John Coltrane, Kenny Burrell, Idris Soliman on that one. It's a great record. Quiet Kenny, if I'm not mistaken, this is getting a reissue or has been reissued recently. Great Jackie McLean. Yusef. Yeah, I have some Yusef. Of course, he recorded for Impulse, but this stuff that he put out for Prestige is good too. I need to snag some of these. Okay, there he is. Eric Dolphy. You guys know probably if you've been here before, Eric Dolphy's my guy. He's always looking over my shoulder right here. So here's Outward Bound. So there's, kind of Eric Dolphy put out records that he sort of, I don't want to say the same lineup, but I think of his music in kind of like sections, Out to Lunch. He got the, of course, that's Blue Note. The other, now I got to find it. Maybe I pulled it out somewhere else. All right, I'm not going to bore you guys. But anyway, so a lot of people think of this one, Outward Bound, and then Out There as kind of a pair. Out to Lunch would be the third one, you would think, right? Because they all have out in the title, but not so much. These are very different records. in some ways you can listen to these as a build up to Out to Lunch in a way. And I've kind of done that. In fact, when I did my my Eric Dolphy video on Out to Lunch, I initially filmed for 3 records, which I reviewed all 3 of these, but it just got too long and confusing. So I cut out these records. But these are great. These are great. Again, on Prestige. Whoops. Oh, so there's the, hey, I just spun right to it. So you can see here the Prestige label. These are funk. These are weird. I don't know how they decided. So this one says Prestige New Jazz on the front. And then we got the New Jazz label. But then I've seen them where, like on this one, it says New Jazz. And then we got the Prestige label. So I don't know how they decided what they were going to do there. But great stuff. For people that are new to Dolphy, trying to find a kind of a point of to like enter into Dolphy, I always recommend these. And these are, again, I talked about Mal Waldron on piano. These are the Eric Dolphy at the 5 spot. They were all put out by OJC, Original Jazz Classics, who put out, by the way, I should mention, they put out a lot of different labels. They put out Riverside. They put out New Jazz, Prestige. They also put out Fantasy. So they kind of covered a lot of ground with these OJCs. I wish they would reissue them quicker, the ones that are coming out now. So yeah, this is the one that should be volume 3, in my opinion. It's just called Eric Dolphy Booker Little Memorial Album. And then here's volume 2. But these are all great. So anything Eric Dolphy 5 spot, great stuff. Let's see, they got Jackie McLean, more Jackie Byard. Love Jackie Byard. So yeah, there's that volume 1. Oh, that's a great one too. I didn't pull that one out. Gigi Grice, the Rat Race Blues. That's a great one. Okay, so these are really cool too. So there's this whole. I would go for volume 1. I would say if you're going to do Dolphy, if you're just trying to get into it and maybe you've struggled with this stuff in the past, maybe you tried Out to Lunch and you were like, what is this? I would go for volume 1 at the 5 spot right there. Or I would listen to some of his stuff with Mingus. I think the stuff with Mingus is accessible also. But yeah, I mean, it's the thing with Dolphy. It can be a little bit challenging or a lot challenging depending on when you jump in. But once you sort of get it, it's like, oh, yes. So this is cool. So you can see here, they did this whole different cover series here. And Eric Dolphy appears on a bunch of these, including this Yusef Lateef. I have 4 of them because Eric Dolphy features so prominently, and they're all really good. So you might want to start out with something from this too, AA, if you can find these. So here's Far Cry, and some of these have been reissued recently. That's got Booker Little. That's a great one right there. Then Ron Carter on bass with Mal Waldron on piano. This is a fantastic trio with Eric Dolphy. I love Ron Carter. That is a great one. It's called Where. Again, I'm fairly sure these have been reissued recently. And then this one's Ken McIntyre featuring Eric Dolphy. It's called Looking Ahead. As you can see, there's a theme here. They all kind of have those cover, the big white border. And then this one's great too. This is Mal Waldron's record, technically, with Eric Dolphy and Booker Irvin, and it's The Quest, another great one. So yeah, man, I would say, you could do if you're going to start trying to enter into Dolphy, maybe just sampling, on Spotify or something. Check out, any of these. I think Where with Ron Carter. I think Far Cry with Booker Little. The Quest is a great one. Volume 1, obviously at the 5 spot, I think is great. So yeah, any of those. So that's those. It's a nice one with John Coltrane with Kenny Burrell, where there's a lot of guitar in the mix, kind of different. And then Yusef, yeah, it's a great one. I didn't show that one because I don't think I have a copy of that right now, but I love Yusef Lateef. He's awesome. Thanks everybody for joining. We're just talking about Prestige today. Let me see if there's any here that I didn't show. If you're for people just starting with Monk, I guess I didn't show these. So when I was talking about how a lot of these records got issued early on 10-inch, then they would compile them into LPs. And these records come from that. So these come from the Thelonious Monk Sonny Rollins sessions, which happened in the early 50s. And then they put these together. There's Sonny Rollins again. And they just kind of mixed them up. So, these are from multiple 10-inch records. And again, one 10-inch record that might have one track on one record and two tracks on another record. They're so good. This has a song called Friday the 13th on it. I love that song. It's fantastic. Thelonious Monk and Sonny. I think they just sound so good together. They always played great together. And this is the first OJC I ever picked up back in the 80s. My dad said, go grab some Thelonious Monk. And I grabbed this one. And so because of that, it's one of my favorite records just because I've been listening to it now for 40 years, but it's a great one too. It's hard. This is going to be Prestige 7053. A lot of Monk, not a lot, but there's at least a handful of records that are just titled Monk, or Thelonious Monk and stuff. So I don't know why they did that. They didn't give them proper titles. And now we're left to try to, search these things out. Quest had the OJC last year. A Perfect Prescription says, yes, that's great, man. That's a great one. That is a great one. Let's see. Did I already cover all these? Yeah. This is another great one. This is it didn't show up on that list, but they don't show every record on that website. But this is Sonny Stitt, Bud Powell, and J.J. Johnson. This is just classic. It's great stuff. This is early stuff. Bud Powell on piano, highly recommend. He's the one of the founders of bebop. And then Sonny Stitt doesn't get enough love either on saxophone. So, and then J.J. Johnson, of course, on trombone. So that's a really cool one too that I always recommend. Let's do this. Because like I said, they do this on all of these labels. Blue Note 10-inch. Here's the 1500 series. Roundabout Midnight, Kenny Dorham. So here's the Blue Note version. Sidney Bechet. This is going to be a lot of stuff we've seen, right? Coming out of the Tone Poet and Classic series. But not all of it. Man, here's more Bud Powell. He's so great. Excuse me. J.J. Johnson. Jazz Messengers. More Monk. Of course, the early Blue Note stuff. Jutta Hip's been getting a lot of love lately. I think that's been reissued. I don't know about this Horace and Jazz Messengers. Has this been reissued? It needs to be. Some of the stuff might be on Music Matters also, right? Those are going to be a little more pricey, of course. Yeah, like for sure, Clifford, Magnificent Thad Jones. This, I think, got a classic series release. I don't know if they did both volumes. This is a great one. Fats Navarro, Died Far Too Young. But that's a fun record. Johnny Griffin, of course. Johnny Griffin also did a blow-in session, which is getting a classic series, I think, or is it Tone Poet? At the end of this year, they're going to reissue that in December. And man, I can't recommend that highly enough. It's not this record. It's another one called A Blow-in Session, which might appear here. It's so good. Paul Chambers. All right. Now I feel like I'm just, wasting your guys' time. But I wanted to show the classic stuff or the Prestige stuff just because I had a bunch of records. I thought it'd be kind of recommend some of these. And I just don't know, Prestige just not getting a whole lot of love, I guess. OJC is back in the mix, but man, they're releasing these titles super slow. There it is, Johnny Griffin. This is coming out December. So good, so good. In fact, let's just look up. So yeah, they're put out by Kraft. So these are the more contemporary ones they've been putting out. And a lot of these are just going to be reissues of the stuff that came out in the 80s, right? So yeah, there you go. The Quest, as a Perfect Prescription mentioned. Groovy, I recommend that. Red Garland, great. Oh, that's cool. Cool t-shirt. Miles. Yeah, so there's the other one. Where got a reissue too. Ron Carter. Wow, nice stuff. The Cats got a So they're starting with some great titles, in my opinion. Mal 2. Yep, I knew about that one. Um, some great Monk. Miles Davis All Stars, more Monk. Wes Montgomery, of course, fantastic, essential jazz album right there. So they're starting to. There's more actually than I thought there was. Sunday at the Village Vanguard. Youssef. Eastern Sounds is there. Monk. That's a great one. Thelonious Monk and John Coltrane. I think these two came out at the same time, early in the series. I mean, Jazz at Oberlin, great record too. A little bundle right there. There we go. That's the way to get it. Cool. So anyway, OJC, back at it. There's so much. I guess it seems like they're going so slow because they just started back a few years ago, and there's just so much stuff that they own so many catalogs that it's kind of like, it's going to be 20 years before they get to all of it. The Miles OJC reissue never seems to go down in price on Amazon. Yeah, I don't know. I don't check the OJC on Amazon much. I know the Blue Note stuff, man, they're always something on sale. But the OJC, maybe not as much. Yeah. That's the other thing too. I mean, these are $40. I mean, craft, my experience, stuff has been decent. But yeah, these are some great ones. Monk and Coltrane again, Bill Evans. So anyway, just something to keep in mind, when we talk a lot, and probably, it's just a lot of people that I talk to, even people that are kind of new into jazz, obviously Tone Poet, classic series is right kind of in your face. OJC is kind of doing their thing a little bit in the background, it seems to me. At least if, maybe for people that are really into this stuff, yeah, you're going to follow this. But otherwise, it can be kind of some hidden gems in here. By the way, don't go anywhere, guys. I'm going to take you right up to the Jazz Bums at the top of the hour. Appreciate everybody for being here. Oh, all right. You know what? Let's do this. We'll do the last little bit. I want to read some of the articles out of this book because I just love it so much. So again, this is called Pressed for All Time. I'm not being paid to say this. I wish I was. But producing the great jazz albums from Louis Armstrong, Billie Holiday, Miles Davis, and Dana Kroll. And it covers a ton of, there's got to be hundreds of records in here. And maybe it doesn't look like much, but it's great. Like here's Dig, a nice article on Dig. That's one of the ones I want to read. And it goes on forever. It just covers everything. Errol Garner, Miles, Oliver Nelson, Out to Lunch, Sonny Rollins, Coltrane. So just to kind of give you an idea, if you guys are curious, you want to maybe pick this up, but you're not sure. I figured we could do story time. This is maybe kind of weird. I don't know. But this Miles Davis Dig is cool. So Ed Michael says about this, and then I'll get into Bob Weinstock. Part of the reason I love this book is because Bob Weinstock, who's the founder of New Jazz Prestige, is a character. And you'll kind of see what I mean as we get into this. But Ed Michael starts out by saying, for me, the first Miles Davis LP where he played 8 and 9 minute tunes was a mind boggler. Up to that point, I thought of music as 3-minute segments. As I said, they were just issuing 10-inch. As a consumer and as a listener, those were the first things that made use of the medium in a different kind of way. After that, all bets were off. A piece could be as long as it had to be. So interesting to think about those times, right? Where everything was either going to be on a 78, which would be like one tune, or a little longer, or a couple tunes on like a 10-inch. But it wasn't until they started doing the LPs with Miles Davis. See, this is Miles Davis Dig. I know Dig is a later number, but anyway, it's one of the first ones to come out. Or maybe it's the first one that wasn't a compilation, actually. All right, here's what Bob Weinstock has to say about it. I sensed that we were going to have LPs. I heard rumblings. I did 3 sessions that were monumental. The first one was Miles Davis with Sonny Rollins and Jackie McLean. Art Blakey was on drums. I had Walter Bishop on piano. Tommy Potter on bass. I said, Miles, we're going to stretch out. Miles said, you mean we're just going to play? As long as you want, almost within reason. And then Miles said, okay, who should I use? And Bob says, you seem to like Sonny Rollins. If you look at the early ones, Sonny's on a lot of them. Miles asks, what about this young guy, Jackie McLean? He's pretty good too. If we're going to stretch out. I said, yeah, I heard of him. I said, he's good. That session was 1951. We did Dig and Bluing. Jackie doesn't play on some of the tunes. He wasn't really that great at the time. He was good. So Miles and Sonny stretched out. That's how it went. We'd always talk about the personnel that we were going to do. A lot of times they'd have tunes. Other times I'd have tunes. Our main emphasis was just to play and stretch out. We accomplished that on Dig. Next, I did either Zoot Sims with Gary Mulligan, and he kind of gets into that. But it's so cool to hear some of these details, and it's going to be little nuggets kind of all throughout this book, just about how he would just say, hey, Miles or John Coltrane, have you ever heard of this tune? And he'd be like, yeah. And he'd be like, okay, play it. And the next thing you know, it's a classic, you know? So that's cool. Let's see. Here's another one. This one's shorter. Bob Weinstock talking about Bag's Groove. It was Christmas when we recorded Bag's Groove of Miles Davis and the Modern Jazz Giants. Everybody was down. Miles Davis, man, I need money. It's Christmas, my kid. Monk called me on the phone. Thelonious Monk, I need money, my kid. Then I got a call from Bags, Milt Jackson, who always had money, and he said, I need some bread. So we'll work something out, I said. So I called Miles, listen, why don't we have an all-star session? I want to use you, Monk, and Bags. Bags and Monk always played great together. He said, I don't know. I said, don't worry. It's going to be good. And if it's no good, we won't issue it. Everybody just plays simple stuff. When Monk, and then he tells a story about that maybe some people perceived that when Monk lays out during Miles's solos, people claimed Miles had said he was going to beat Monk up if he played. No, he didn't. He wanted that effect. Without the piano, Monk had no hard feelings. They loved each other. It's like baseball all-stars. They love each other because of their abilities. So I don't know. I just think that's cool stuff, man. I hope I'm not putting you guys to sleep. Mark Boyd, book name is Pressed for All Time. I'm just reading a couple paragraphs and the whole thing is packed with this stuff. Here's a fun one. I'll read just quickly because I'm saving the best for last. Again, Bob Weinstock, founder of New Jazz Prestige, talking about the record Soul Train, John Coltrane, 1958. We had a basic framework and we discussed who we were going to use on it. I didn't try to shove people down their throats and they didn't try to shove them down my throat. Same with the material. I'd have suggestions. They'd have suggestions. My knowledge of songs was tremendous. I'd say, hey, Train, do you know Russian Lullaby? Train says, sure, man. Boom, Russian Lullaby, just like that. He could teach it to everybody on the session. It was all very loose. I hated charts. I hated arrangements. That's where me and Alfred Lyon differed. Alfred would do rehearsals and I wouldn't. The cool thing about that is there's other mentions of competition between the labels in this book. There's examples where I'm not gonna be able to remember the labels, but if you get this, this is just really fun stuff where some of them would edit the tracks. Some of them would say no solos. There were some of the labels, I don't remember who it was, if it was Impulse or whoever, that would say, we don't want drum solos. We're going to put people to sleep. Well, while others were cool with it and stuff. So it's just a ton of that kind of stuff, behind the scenes kind of stuff like that. All right, I got to read my favorite one out of here. I hope I don't put you guys to sleep. This is Bob Weinstock again. Teddy Reeg, who was also big in jazz as a producer and put together, worked with a lot of people. He worked with Miles, Stan Getz, Dizzy Gillespie, Sarah Vaughan, Errol Garner, and just everybody. So Bob Weinstock's talking about Teddy Reeg. Teddy Reeg made great records, but the man was not a nice person. He pulled some shit on me right away. I was very successful right off the bat. And DJ Symphony Sid, Teddy's close friend, used to play my records by Stan Getz, Kai Winding, J.J. Johnson, Tristano, Conitz, Miles. He respected me because I made good jazz. Again, this is the founder of New Jazz Prestige talking. I didn't give Sid a nickel, i.e., I didn't pay him to play the records on the radio. That burned Teddy Reeg's ass. So one day, I'm going out of the Royal Roost, and a big black Cadillac drives up. Teddy Reeg opens the door and says, "Get in, kid." I wasn't afraid of anybody. I'd boxed, played football as middle linebacker, and at the time, I was a military policeman in the National Guard. Teddy gets me in the car and says, I'm sorry, there's going to be some swearing here, but it's just hilarious. Teddy gets me in the car and says, "You're fucking up the jazz business." "What do you mean?" I said. "You're paying these guys scale. You're not doing extra sides free like I am." And then a little side note, Weinstock was paying additional money when more than 4 tracks were recorded during a 3-hour session. So it seems like Weinstock was fair. This other guy's more of a gangster. He goes, I said, "Why should I, man? Scale's cheap enough. I do 4 sides for $300. What more do you want? The guys are cooperating with me. They do it for scale. They like me. Why should I fuck them?" And this guy says, "Yeah, but you're ruining the business." "What business? Your business? Fuck you. Open the door and let me out." "Don't talk to me like that," he said. "You see 2 guys sitting up front?" This is straight out of a gangster movie, man. I said, "F you and F them. Just open the door, man. If you want to F with me, you may beat me now, but you 3 will be dead tomorrow." Again, this is the founder of Prestige New Jazz. My godfather was in Al Capone's gang in Chicago, and my father grew up with Legs Diamond and Dutch Schultz. All those Jewish gangsters were my schoolmates. Teddy opens the door. "Listen," I said, "I'm just doing it the right way. From what I know, it's cheap enough. So I don't know why you got to mess with them." I'm paraphrasing. "These are good people." After all that, we became friends when Teddy stopped recording and went to work for Basie, Count Basie. So, dude, I mean, that's worth the price of admission. It's so cool that Bob Weinstock is worth the price of admission. The way he talks is just so candidly, and all this gangster stuff and everything with the labels. And it doesn't stop there. I mean, Pharoah Sanders, Sun Ra is in, stuff from his records. I have not barely touched the tip of the iceberg on this book, but I love it so much. I try to recommend it when I can. This is essential reading, says Mark Boyd. I agree. So if you can find it, I don't know if it's in print. I hate to, again, no one's paying me to say this. And, I wish there was enough to go around for everybody, but maybe you can find a digital copy or something. It's phenomenal. Probably one of the best books that I have on music, just because it's jam-packed with that kind of stuff, all those little nuggets. And I'm assuming by the time you're done with this, you're going to have a, PhD in jazz and just kind of all the stuff all the goings on, behind the scenes and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. You got to do the Miles. Oh, I should have done the Miles voice. Should have did the Miles voice. If I can't, I don't even know if I can get that. I probably won't be able to talk all weekend. Okay. Let me just read this part over. I said, "Miles, we're going to stretch out." "You mean we're going to just play?" Sorry, I was bad. Anyway, so that's cool stuff. That's cool stuff. Jill's Music Corner. I'm getting into jazz. I usually buy rock and pop. Well, cool. There's some great stuff. There's a lot of great stuff coming out right now. If you like, a lot of the big names, the Blue Note and the Prestige label, which I'm talking about today, are going to be 2 of the probably have more catalog than a lot of them, even Impulse and stuff like that. And the good news is that they're available. The Classic series and the Tone Poet series, they're oftentimes on sale. If you are a Amazon person, Jill, you can find these on sale. Like I just showed this pickup. I did an unboxing of Bobby Hutcherson's Medina, a Tone Poet, and it was like I don't even think it was 30. I want to say it was cheaper, but you can always find sales on there. So it's great that the stuff Classic series is the best bargain in town, in my opinion. I mean, $30 for these records. It's easy to take it for granted now because they've been doing it for several years, and we have hundreds of titles out. But before that, it was tough to get this stuff. You had to pay up for it, and most people know the original stuff is really pricey. or just destroyed in terrible condition. So it's really nice that they're putting these out now. And new jazz, original jazz classics. So that's the thing too, guys, is the reason why I show a lot of these. The original jazz classics from the 80s, like this one's got the, the OB sticker still and everything, is that they printed a ton of these in the 80s. And so they're still out there and they're still pretty, most of them are going to be fairly priced. And I have a bunch of them. I really built a collection on the backs of these OJCs. When it comes to the fantasy label, the prestige label, the new jazz label, the Riverside label, they did too. So there's more Thelonious Monk on there and stuff. So yeah, you can't go wrong. The best deal in town. And then of course, as I said, the Blue Note stuff too is very readily available these days. Did I miss any comments? I don't think I did. Miles OJC reshoot. Yeah. Plus, OJC's putting out some great ones, man. They're really starting at the top of their game. Like a couple of those, the Quest has been reissued. You can get these from the Craft website. And then I saw this one too. These are two fantastic ones. If you're just trying to get started with Dolphy, these are both now available on the Craft website in OJCs. These are original OJCs. Or this might not even be. I guess these aren't OJCs. Maybe this one is. But these are great records and have been very pricey because they're just tough to get. And of course, the originals are always pricey. Just a few more minutes, guys. I'll get you up over to the Jazz Bums. So I'm just going to shoot you right over there through the magic of YouTube. What did you guys think? I'm really curious. Did you guys, I probably could have did more today. Wasn't sure how long it was going to take me to go through these. You like talking about the labels? I mean, maybe we could do a Blue Note one, maybe come back on Fridays and do some of these other labels, and I could show some records and stuff. We could do Prestige, we could do Riverside, we could do, any of that stuff might be kind of cool. And again, this book covers a lot of it. Michael Jarrett, if you ever see this, I accept PayPal, any of the major payment methods I accept. So Press for All Time, though, it's a great one, man. If you were here if you guys didn't hear me reading from this, scroll back a little bit. This is really great stuff. It's just hundreds of the best jazz albums and just really cool tidbits. Red Clay, Freddie Hubbard. So it's the big stuff and the little stuff. Bob Weinstock. He's like my jazz hero now, man. Gangster Activity. Make it like a jazz class. Haha. There we go, AA. That's a good idea. Maybe we'll do that. But yeah, Prestige, new jazz. I know people that just get started. I think the Blue Note stuff is so out there. I talk to people that are like, they got into jazz, and Jill also asking the question through Blue Note, right? Because a lot of the biggest records, a lot of the biggest artists are going to be on there. They're reissuing them by the ton. They do 2 classic series and 2 Tone Poets a month. So that's 4 jazz albums right there. That you're going to get that are generally going to be very, very good. But I thought it'd be cool to show some love because a lot of those same artists also worked for Prestige New Jazz. So as I said, the Sonny Rollinses, the John Coltrane's, the Thelonious Monks, Miles Davis, all did a lot of great work for Prestige. So, and then of course my guy Eric Dolphy as well. Except Out to Lunch. That's kind of a funny thing is that this, well, you can't see it, but I have this poster that says Out to Lunch on it. And it's the one Blue Note that he did, so it's kind of funny. It's the last record that, was issued a few months after his death, unfortunately, untimely death. But that's cool. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go because I'm going to take you over to the Jazz Bump. So don't worry. I'm going to click the end stream button. You guys will just appear there. I appreciate you guys being here. Mark Boyd, Don't Be a Stranger. AA, thanks for being here again. Jill's Music Corner, thank you for being here. A Perfect Prescription. Appreciate all you guys. I will see you guys Monday. Monday, I'll be back with Chris. We'll do another episode of Your Brain on Vinyl. That's at 8 p.m. Central. And we'll do it all over again. I think this is the end of my first month going every single day. So I'm going to take a little victory lap. We made it 1 month. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here. I'm dropping you off at the Jazz Bums right now. Here we go.